What's up again, everybody? So there I was relaxing on a fantastic Easter Monday, sitting back watching some great Flesh and Blood gameplay that I played in recently over on the Tolarian Community College channel, just trying to think about what video I wanted to make next. I have a Lorcana video on the docket, and I was going to get started on that. And then I had to scrap everything because Game Trade Magazine spoiled how the game functions. So I guess we're talking about this with this week's Lorcana video. I had planned to talk about something else, which I'll put in this video. But now we're talking about the fact that the game freaking plays like I thought it would. So I'm so excited to talk about this because we're going to break down the mechanics that were spoiled and how the game actually functions. By the way, shout out to Geeks First for sending me these high quality images. I then went and tried to edit them and make them crisp and clear for you at home to watch. So if you enjoy that, hey, press a button. Numbers going up, that's what cool people do. Okay, so in this article in Game Trade Magazines, which is by the way, a professional publication, you should understand this is a professional publication. It is the issue number 279. It's the May issue. You can actually go to your local game store and look at theirs if they get one with their products. But in this, they talked about a lot of different things. They showed a lot of new cards. They showed off some of the products that we had already mentioned in a couple of videos ago about Lorcana. The card sleeves, the deck boxes, the play mats, the card portfolios. Those are all cool. Those are all awesome. They talked about the inks and the different kind of affiliations you can play around with when you're constructing your deck. These are new. Some of these are new cards. There's a new card here for each of those ink archetypes, which is really exciting, so feel free to dive into those, but that's not what I'm going to talk about in this video. We're talking about these next two pages. This is where things get really spicy, and we get to talk about how the game functions, because I'll tell you what, I postulated that this would have a lot of similarities to the push and pull mechanics of Lorcana being similar to Keyforge, and by and large, we were right. So take a look at this second paragraph. In Disney Lorcana, you'll race against other players to gather lore scattered across the realm. The first player to gather 20 lore wins. Now, I had guessed something like 10 to 15 lore based on just if your character is out there and then they do a thing, then you get a lore. But it's a little different than that, and actually that's what makes it a little bit more exciting. So 20 lore wins you the game. Taking on the role of an Illuminator who wields magic ink, you will use a 60-card deck, which is what you're going to build, including glimmers of Disney characters, as well as items, songs, which is so funny, and more to gather lore and challenge your opponents. So this is not a strict battle game. You don't have life totals. It's a race, and that's going to be quite fun. Players can build their own decks using up to 2 inks, or basically 2 colors, or some of the pre-built starter decks that you can buy, which you can actually see in the image right there, those pre-built starter decks. They come in like a brick like that. You'll begin the game with a hand of 7 cards, and you'll draw a card each turn. Okay, so this is very similar to a lot of other TCGs. Draw at the start of your turn, start with 7. You'll then use, this is a big deal, you'll then be able to turn a card in your hand into ink, which you'll use to play other cards from your hand. So we're embracing the resource system, one a turn, similar to a land mana system in Magic the Gathering, but with the wonderful tweak of something like what was the game? The Duel Masters, I believe, that had a similar mechanic where you were able to use a card from your hand to become a resource each turn. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or was it Kaijudo? I can't remember which card game I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Leave a comment down below telling me the similar card games that used a system wherein you can take the card and it can become a resource in your play zone for paying for cards. All cards have an ink cost that can be paid with the ink in your inkwell. And your inkwell is what you're basically placing your resources into and then using tapping for creating your cards. The more cards you have in your inkwell, the more powerful cards you can play and the more you can do. But choose what goes into your inkwell carefully. We can assume that what you put down there stays as resources and does not come out at any point so that you can play them. So if you turn something in your hand into ink, well, it's gonna stay ink the rest of the game. To gather lore, which is your win condition, you'll need to send characters to quest for it. This is the same thing as reaping in Keyforge. When you have a character out on the field, you would tap them and you would gain a point basically. And once you reached a certain number of points, you created a key in that game, which was the win condition. Here, you are actually tapping that card to go and quest and gain lore. If you get to 20, you win the game. You exert your glimmers to have them go quest. Just turn them sideways to show that they're exerted, and you get the amount of lore shown on their cards, and that tweak is so good. Okay, because here's why. Look at the two cards at the bottom. One of them's called Scar. He's a 5/3, costs 4. If you choose for that character to go questing, that character will generate you 1 lore, putting you 1 lore closer to the 20 lore win condition. If you choose to quest with Belle, on the other hand, Belle is a 3-cost 2/3. She will actually generate you 2 lore. So these characters have the capability of, doing what's called challenging in this, which is basically battle. They have the capability of battling. They both have stats that could battle with, but they also have different lore, like questing results, if you will. So characters are going to have this leaning one way or the other, or they may go right down the middle where they could do both really decently. And that's what makes this really fun. This is a really interesting twist, which is how Keyforge functioned. Every character that went and reaped just got you 1, essentially, minus a few cards that did special stuff based on their abilities. These characters have it built into their card that they will gain you different amounts of lore, and that is really cool because you as the opponent have to judge what your opponent can do on their turn and see how close they can get, and if you need to now reevaluate how your turn is going to function to stop them from getting to that win condition. Speaking of, you can also exert your characters to challenge any other character and perhaps even banish them. That's removing them from the field. This can really slow players down since they need characters to gather lore. Only exerted characters can be challenged, which means if your opponent left a character up, they can't take it out. So think ahead when deciding which ones to exert. They'll be open to challenge on your opponent's turn, and that is different from Keyforge as well. You could actually challenge any or attack into anything in Keyforge, whereas in this, you have this push and pull dynamic of, okay, do I exert them? If so, I could lose that on my opponent's turn. That's a really cool back and forth. Now, this page does even more for understanding how the game functions. Characters in a challenge deal each other damage equal to their strength. We postulated this in a previous video. They can also receive damage from other effects outside of a challenge, and it adds up over time. So it is indeed going to be persistent damage that you track. They do not heal up at the start of your next turn or at the end of your turn where they take damage. You have to keep track of them, and that's very good for the game, but it might not be great if you don't like keeping track of persistent stats. I know some people don't, but I do personally. I enjoyed it in Keyforge, and oftentimes you found that the higher level you went, players would make very strategic decisions to just not leave lingering characters on the board. They would make attacks, or they would make challenges in this case, that would clear the board in very clean lines. And I feel like that's exactly how this is going to function. So you're probably not going to see a lot of players leaving 2 damage on the board with your opponents being able to still use that character. You'll keep track of a character's damage using counters you put on the card. If the number of damage counters on a character reaches their willpower, they are banished. You put it in their discard pile, and then you're going to be able to see more info. We don't have that info yet, but you'll be able to see more info on how to play at DisneyLorcana.com. Now, the very top part of this talks about what the card anatomy looks like, and I want to talk about the top left. Cost. How much ink the card costs to play. We postulated this. So for example, Mickey Mouse here is going to cost 4 to play. So you need 4 ink that you can exert to then play down this card. The inkwell icon says cards with this around the cost hexagon can be put into your inkwell and used as ink. So if there's a card that doesn't have that symbol, it can't be used in the inkwell as resources. Outside of that, everything else is very similar to what we would expect. We have classifications, we have the name of the card, we have what the ink symbol they are, we have their abilities and their effects. We do see Rush is able to kind of counteract the summoning sickness that we get in a lot of card games, and in this card game as well. Strength and willpower, and then the best part is that lore value. For example, Mickey Mouse here can be used to quest for 2 lore, getting you 2 lore closer to winning the game, which is just a huge change. Now I want to go back to this one page one more time. It does spell out the rarities down there in the bottom. Common is going to be the circle. Rare is going to be the red symbol. Legendary is the gold symbol. Then we have uncommon and super rare, respectively, as well with the book. We were close on those, but we were a little bit off on our predictions there, but I'm okay with it. And then finally, this is a really fun one. If you were wondering if this is going to be an actual game, I know there's people out there that are like, I don't think this is actually going to be playable in stores. They have a Lorcana League and game night that is going to be running, and this is where they first detail their OP plans, their organized play program. 12 weeks of events broken into 3 rounds. You can earn league points, win or lose by participating in casual Disney Lorcana matches, which is very fun. Best of 2 to 3 games. That's pretty interesting. And through Lorcana-related activities such as teaching someone how to play, prizes are awarded to the most of the participants, which is good. So more people playing, more people get prizes. And those with the most points in each round are given a modest additional prize. So there's tournaments planned, as well as you can see down there at the bottom, in the future to give fans bigger opportunities to prove their talent for gameplay. This is a huge, exciting announcement, and one that I am floored for, because I was already excited just for the theming of a TCG with Disney themes, being able to play this with my kids. But the system of Keyforge, to me, was so compelling and was so fun that if they even applied, some of that to the game, I was gonna be hooked. And it looks like they did, and I am really, really pumped for it. Now, it isn't all sunshine and roses, though, because I do want to say there is one thing that gives me a good deal of pause as far as Lorcana is concerned, and that's the price point that was originally mentioned. The price point for booster packs was a full $1 more than just about any TCG on the market right now. And yes, there is a premium allotted to Disney things, I'm sure, but $1 is a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot, particularly when you're looking at like the established big 3 and their price points, because those are, perennial favorite. Pokemon is the market leader, and they don't push to that price point, probably for a reason. And so that is something that is a little bit worrisome. If that price point at MSRP stays there and doesn't float down at LGS, where you should be buying this product, because I will say this again, you should buy from your LGS when they have this, and if they can get their hands on a lot of the product, you should pick it up from them, because their business runs on giving you a place to play and giving you product to play with. But if that price point stays at MSRP and doesn't kind of float down like we see a lot of other products do, then it is going to, it's definitely going to push people away to some degree in some respects. The other thing that we want to know about, and that I don't quite know about, is how much product we're actually going to have at launch and what the allocations are going to look like. Allocations meaning if you as a store asked for, 100 boxes, and the distributor that is selling to you those boxes only has 500 boxes to go around to all stores, you may be allocated a smaller amount than you could actually ask for. And if those allocations are heavy, then there's going to be not much product on the market, and that is scary for a lot of people that want the game to succeed as a game and as an experience to enjoy with others. And that's what games should all be, experiences to enjoy with others. And so I worry about those things. Now, I'm super excited about how the actual game is going to function, and I think there are people out there that don't think the game is actually going to be a good game, and I think, to me, this proves them wrong. I disagree with their stance. I think it is going to be a functional and a good game based on what we know now. Now the question is, can we get our hands on it, and can we do so at a good, affordable price so that more people can enjoy the game? And I truly hope so. But I, for one, am thoroughly excited about this announcement. Let me know what you think in a comment below as well about how this game is going to play and anything else related to Lorcana. If you enjoyed this video, make a number climb slightly higher, because like I said at the beginning, that's what cool kids do. As always, thanks for watching.